Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining this session. We are here to speak about Azure API management. Maybe some of you already know about Azure API management. Yeah. Do you already use it? Yes. Good. Good. So we'll be talking about some of the new feature that was released this year. We have a product group that is working always on the product, improving the product with new feature every day, every weeks, months, years. So we will explore this with Frédéric. So I am Nicolas Barrasson. I'm a cloud solution architect at Microsoft, and Frédéric.
I'm a magician. I'm the cloud solution architect, Frédéric. I'm Gandalf today, and Nicolas was a Jedi today.
Yeah, I'm not Luke Skywalker, but Ben Kenobi in Obi-Wan. Ben Kenobi at this time. So yeah, it's a private joke. Maybe you will understand why we choose this character. And
who loves Star Wars?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Lord of the Rings?
Oh, bad choice. Harry Potter? Okay. Well, you'll see why we choose these characters. So, what's Azure API management? So first, what's Azure? So Azure is a cloud service provider like AWS, GCP, and Azure API management is basically our API management service. So it's one of many services we have in Azure, and it's really our full lifecycle API management solution. So in competition with some guys you can also meet at this conference, but that's our offering. So basically, like many API management solution, it is organized around three pillars. The main one is the gateway on the bottom right, which is what we call the data plane, because it exposes the data, the actual APIs that are hosted on backends behind the gateway, and it intermediates with the consumer, which are actually the application, the real application from developers. So that's a common element in API management. So it's not only a gateway, it's also a developer portal for developers to explore, discover your APIs, get help and get ready on APIs you could have developed. And the third element is the management plane, which is basically Azure, the management plane of Azure, which is exposed through an API also, with many ways to communicate with these APIs. So yeah, just really simple. It's our API management solution, and it's one service among many other services in Azure. So we address the full life cycle of an API, from design to develop to publish it, analyzing it. So, and for each feature, for each stage of this life cycle, we provide some features, or maybe if you are already a user of the solution. So we will be presenting some new feature on this life cycle. And last, so I told you it's an API management solution, but in the context of Azure, it's also more than that, because it's supported by a rich ecosystem of Azure services. So we have API management in the center. It's our focus today, and we will see lots of things in built-in API management. But to understand our value proposition as Microsoft, as Azure, you must understand that API management alone is not enough. You have other services to compose your application platform. So API management is to manage your API, but if you want to develop your APIs, you can rely on our technologies like .NET, obviously, but also Visual Studio Suites, Visual Studio Code, GitHub, Azure DevOps for the CI/CD deployment part. If you want to run your APIs on some backend, you have many ways. It's the most famous ways, but there is a plus button that we can't see on the screen. Weird. My slide is not very weird. My slide is not like this on my computer, but there is a plus item on the right, which means that this is the first proposition: function app, logic app, AKS, container apps, web apps, and so on. That's not the purpose of this presentation, but we have also other services to host actually your own APIs. On top of API management, if you want to monitor your APIs, you have obviously our own technology, log analytics, application insight, but also Grafana, Azure Managed Grafana, which is a new offering, and I will show you this in details later on. But you can also use other technology to monitor your APIs. You want to secure them, so with identity provider, which is Azure Active Directory for us. And also we have different services, network services like Azure Front Door, Application Gateway to secure them on the network layer. And last but not least, you have your application, your API platform, and you want to consume this API and build great application. And we have the Power Platform, which is our low-code, no-code platform to build amazing apps, to build automations, to build AI-powered applications. So that's, let's say, the full Azure application platform from the application itself to the API and how you can develop your APIs. So that's API management ecosystem. Right. So we are here to show you the latest news. And one of this news is the Postman integration within API management. So many of you maybe already use Postman. They are just behind upstairs, and a great partner, a great tool for all API developers. And we introduced, so we partner with them to have, in the boss sense of the application, an integration to export from Postman and also from API management. So bidirectional integration, and I will demo you what it's like very quickly on my demo environment. So I'm here in API management, and I have some APIs. Let's wait a bit. Yeah, okay. So I have my Star Wars REST API because I'm a Star Wars fan. Here with all the operation, and it's great, it's working, but I want to work with this API and potentially update it with new operation in Postman. So I can right click here and export to Postman. And by clicking this button, it will open my Postman tool and import this API in my workspace. Let's click on import, and here we go. I have here my Star Wars REST API showing up, and I can test it. Hey, but it will fail, I think, maybe, because I need to configure something. It will fail. Disclaimer, it will fail because I just have to put here my API key. But I created, an environment here which I can apply to my Postman to have as a variable my API key. So I will switch my context here to Azure API Management. Just call here my variable, click save, and retry, because it fell. access denied due to invalid subscription key. Send again, and boom, I got the film. I got the film from Star Wars. So yeah, so that's my demo for Postman. There is also another an export from Postman to API management to continue the work or deploy your API, but for some reason it doesn't work, and I need to go to see Postman, folks, to know why. Because here, if I click on Microsoft Azure, there is a connection workflow to my Azure account to get the authentication token. And from Postman here, select my subscription, my resource group, my service, my API, connect, and fail. I don't know why. Something went wrong by adding a new integration. Please try again. Yeah? No, it's built in Postman. It's built in Postman. When you here, when you click on your API, you have here deployment with several options. So with our friends from APG, AWS, and Microsoft Azure. So yeah, so that's one of the feature.
This works the other way around as well.
Yeah,
It in Postman basically and save and
from
deploy to.
yeah, theoretically it works in both senses, but I don't know why it doesn't work in my demo from Postman to Azure. It needs to be investigated with Postman. It's really new, you know. It's still public preview, so yeah, there is a new image here. So, but we are planning to do more things with Postman to integrate more with both products, because Postman is really a great tool when it comes to API design, and there is no debate about that. So that's why we are partnering with Postman. So next new is the GraphQL support, finally. Because GraphQL is really important nowadays. So so that's not the hottest news, because it's actually more than 1 year that we started to support GraphQL pass-through mode. It was in preview, not GA. Both are generally available. So there is basically two things to know. The proxy mode pass-through, so basically proxyfying a GraphQL backend and serving a GraphQL endpoint. And the other capability is what we call the synthetic GraphQL. It's also called federated GraphQL. It's providing a GraphQL endpoint, but in the backend, you can have GraphQL, but also REST APIs. So very, very interesting to federate different backends and provide one GraphQL endpoint. And I will show you that right now. So you see, I have this Star Wars REST API, and in my case, I want to provide the GraphQL API. So what I will do is to click here on Add API, click on Synthetic GraphQL, give it a name, Star Wars GQL. Yeah, fine. So for that, we need a schema, a GraphQL schema. Here, let's just zoom in a little bit, yeah. So I have here my GraphQL schema. I will import it. Give it a suffix, so swappy GQL, and create this GraphQL API. So at this stage, what I've created is just an endpoint with a schema of my data, and I need to now make the link between this endpoint and the backend, which is a REST backend. And how do I do that? I do that with policy. Policy, I saw people nodding about policy. So policy is a way to apply some logic, do something at the gateway level to manipulate the data and do great things. It's one of the strengths of the API of an API gateway actually. So I will use new policy to make the link between this endpoint and the REST endpoint. And so I will grab this policy here and we'll explain. So what we do with this policy is basically for each operation, here characters provide a resolver, what we call a resolver, to an endpoint, to a HTTP endpoint. So what we are saying, we are telling to API management that for this query, so query mutation in GraphQL, you know already about it. Query is get, and mutation is post in REST. So for a query that requires characters, we will do a get to these resources, to this URL, and that's the same for all the operation. With a level of complexity, depending if we have variables, if you have if we need to catch data in more depth, in more deep in the hierarchy. So I will apply this to my APIM. Can be long sometimes. I should have done this before while I was talking, but wait a few seconds. When you are demoing, it's like hours, you know, when you are doing that. Yeah, very good. And let's test a bit. So let's request characters, ID, name, send. And querying the REST backend, and we should have the result in a few seconds.
Actually really a matter of the product tier you're choosing. So the development tier is somewhat relaxed, I would say. Whereas if you choose the premium tier, it's probably
So there is different, SKU, different tiers. I'm on the developer tiers with no SLA, basically not a lot of performance for a production use case. So sometimes, depending on the hour in the day, it can be long. So here it is. I have my ID and name of my different characters. So and that's exposed to a GraphQL endpoint. So great stuff if you want to modernize your APIs, if you want to provide a GraphQL endpoint to your front-end developers, and you don't have the time to invest in redeveloping your APIs, you can use API management to do that. Yeah. So the next good thing is the authorization feature. Authorization feature is something that really we believe is really useful, and the first feedback from our customers tells us the same. It's really useful when you have an application consuming an external API which need authentication. So I will show you an example with GitHub, with the GraphQL API of GitHub. And GitHub requires authentication to query on your data. And with authorization, what APIM does, it stores the token in an internal token store, and your application can reuse this through APIM, can reuse this authorization. It means that your developers on the left of your application don't have to deal with this plumbing stuff with managing token and so on. They're focused on their business logic, on their development, and this kind of things can be managed by APIM. So really no code, just configuration and nothing on the developer level. Everything is managed at the APIM level. So authorization is still in preview, and so I will not go through all the steps because I want to save time, but it's not really, it's 5 minutes, no more, to configure, to link my APIM with my own GitHub account, in fact, on this demo. And so you have to create on the GitHub. Well, really it depends of the solution. So in this case, it's GitHub, but it can be Salesforce. We provide. I can show you this. We provide support for different identity provider out of the box. So GitHub, LinkedIn, Salesforce. Common use case. Lots of customers use Salesforce or ServiceNow and wants to communicate with their APIs. Spotify, Stripe, and this is an initial list. We're working to add more provider. So depending on the provider, you will need to set up things differently. But basically, in GitHub, you need to create in the developer settings. You need to create a OAuth application. It gives you a client ID, a client secret, and then you have to provide this to create your authorization in APIM. So here I have my GitHub authorization set in the APIM. So APIM is able to log in on GitHub on my behalf and have the same right as my account. But to use it with my own APIs, I want to set up here the things, and I will show you. So the example I took is GitHub, because they provide a GraphQL APIs alongside their REST API, and here GitHub no. Bug. Yes, upload schema. Sorry, up here. So I need to get the schema, the GraphQL schema from GitHub, and you can download it here. Really, GraphQL schema GitHub. Here. They provide the schema publicly, so you can take it from there. Upload it, and you need to provide, obviously, the endpoint. github.com/GraphQL, if I remember well. Then create. On a jusqu'à 30, hein. Je vais accélérer. Je crois que je vais rester là-dessus. And so we can test, but basically it will tell me that you're not authorized, blah, blah, blah. So what I need again is to provide him a policy, which is this one. Let's zoom in a little bit. Yeah. So what does this policy? This policy is getting the authorization context from our authorization we just created. So in fact, GitHub. So we make a reference to this authorization item. So it gets all the tokens, all the information. And with those information, we will set the authorization header and inject the token. So each time we query the API management will add the correct bearer token to the request, and that's as simple as that. We set it with bearer, and we take the auth context, the access token from the authorization context. And that's fine. And we set the user agent to API management, but it's optional. So let's copy paste this here. Click on save. And what I plan to show you is the great integration with Postman again. So what I did, I created a mutation to add a discussion item on GitHub, on a discussion I created on my own repo, which is here. And I need to switch my environment to get just these variables. I need the discussion ID, the URL of the GitHub API on my IPIM, and the secrets key. So I will add a discussion comment saying hello Apidays. And here you can consider this like my code, like my application, and I don't need to do something about the authorization, the authentication. It's all managed in APIM. So it's just the API call made by my application. Sorry. Let's click on send, and resource not found. Oh. Oh. GitHub. GitHub, yeah, because of this. You know, in the rush, I forgot to add a suffix to my API. And now it should work. I hope so. Let's wait a bit. Ah, it will work. No? Yeah, it worked. Hello, Apidays. How are you? So we're running out of time. I planned other feature like workspaces, which is multi-tenancy support for API provider. I wanted to show you Grafana APIM dashboard, the great. Oh, I can show you really quickly because it's really 30 seconds. Just here. We added to Azure this service Grafana, managed Grafana, which is a fully managed Grafana on Azure. You deploy a Grafana in 2 minutes, and it comes with a lot of dashboard already created in the Azure, in the context of Azure, and we provide a dashboard for API management with great insights. So we know our customers also love this kind of tools, and it's a great tool actually. So yes, that's, you know, out of the box in like this demo. I built this demo in 5 minutes, yeah, and I have all the telemetry, all the insight I want in my Grafana format. So that's all for me. I will hand it over to Frederick, who will show you new things on the developer portal.
I just activate the subtitle, but I speak in English and subtitle in English, and just check if my word is good or not. Okay, well, I will speak about the new features and old features in Dev Portal, and especially if you want to customize the portal. It's okay, so for me, okay. If you want to personalize or customize the development portal, you know the Dev Portal? Okay, okay. Just to show you the default look of the portal here. This is the default look. You know Contoso, the big company, yeah. And if you want to, okay, if you want to customize your dev portal, you can do four things. First, you can just use the features by design in Dev Portal. You can specify your layout, you can specify your style, you can specify create your page about based on your layout, etc. I can show you if you want. It's not new. In 2022, we have just add some specific widget to customize the Dev Portal. First is the customized HTML. If you want to bring your own HTML with your own style, you can create this widget and put your own HTML. I show you an sample after. Second thing, you can create and upload your custom widget. You can create your widget with TypeScript, with React or Vue. I show you after in my VS Code, and you can deploy it directly in your portal. The versioning of this widget is different of the revision of the portal. You have the portal revision and we have the versioning of your widget. Okay, it's a good thing. In my sample, I use some custom widget with text-to-speech, with language understanding for create a virtual assistant in my dev portal. Okay. And the last but not the least, if it's not enough, you can self-host the portal if you want. It's not the best approach, but if you don't have the choice.
Yeah, let me add just a thing about this. Frankly, that's not an option that we want you to use, but ultimately if you really have a need, a requirement that doesn't fit with what we offer as managed services, you have this option. But yeah, that's really not our vision to develop more things and promote this approach. But you can do it. The developer portal is actually an open source project on GitHub, and you can deploy your own dev portal.
But you need to update to secure the VM behind the portal. I switch to the demo. I show you just. Attends, c'est bon, je vais switcher pour voir.
Ouais.
C'est bon. Okay. For the demo, this is my custom portal, dev portal. I said before I'm the Middle Earth fan. And sorry, it's some sentences in French. Okay, sorry for that. You can. It's not the custom widget here. Okay, you can make this one with the feature custom layout and in the portal. The custom here widget is this one. We have a video player widget and a YouTube player widget, but you can't style this for a video background and so on. I create this widget for have a video background with an overlaying text on it. And we go start to see the movie.
Yeah, it's a YouTube video, je crois.
It's not a real. I have streamed this video. I have saved this video on my PC. I have uploaded this one in my Azure storage, and I'm free about YouTube. I can just create my own catalog, my own products catalog with my own. It's not the custom widget. It's just fun to make this one. Okay. I show you just the script. If I go to the admin portal to make the customization, I can go and edit the widget, and you will see my HTML code. J'ai le même lag que toi. This is just my HTML code, some divs, some video tags of video elements, some style. some style here. I'm a developer. I'm not very fan about that to embed the style, but it's like that and it works. And for the custom script, you can create your script about the custom widget. You create the new widget, you put a name, and you choose your framework, TypeScript, without framework, so on, and or React or Vue. I have choose TypeScript here, and you with some kind of command line, you can create you can scaffold the project in your VS Code, and you just can develop and deploy it. If we need Node.js, if I start this one, I can debug this one locally. Okay. It starts the dev portal with an URL here, with this one. Okay. I can debug my custom widget without deploy it in the real production environment. And when I finish and it's okay, I can deploy it just with npm run run deploy, and the widget was deployed on my production environment. Okay, it's easy. I can show you the widget. It's a virtual assistant, but it's a French virtual assistant. Okay. It's named Gandalf.
Bonjour Fred, bonjour Nicolas, bonjour à tous. Je suis Gandalf le gris, ou Gandalf le blanc, ou ici, en rouge, comme vous voulez. Dans tous les cas, je suis prompt à vous aider.
Okay, thanks Gandalf. I can't speak with my microphone with him, but I can just type some sentence. Gandalf, you are late. And in the movie, Gandalf responds to Frodo when Frodo asks him, Gandalf, you are late. My assistant understands the intentions behind this sentence, and
Un magicien n'arrive jamais en retard, ni en avance non plus,
okay.
Mais précisément à l'heure.
Okay. The magician Gandalf is not late, is not early, too early, is just at time, in time. If I try to create a new application with characters, okay? I ask him in French. I want create application with characters.
Pour créer une application comme ça, tu peux utiliser notre API personnage.
Automatically,
Je t'ai ouvert un nouvel onglet directement sur la bonne API.
Gandalf understands my sentence and understand my intention. I want to create a new application with characters and redirect automatically with the good API or the good product. Okay? It's fun now? Yeah. The last ask, you know Astérix et Obélix chez Cléopâtre? For French or Belge or, okay. It's just a French joke here. Yeah? Okay. C'est une bonne situation, ça. Magicien.
Mais, vous savez, moi je ne crois pas qu'il y ait de bonnes ou de mauvaises situations. Moi, si je devais résumer ma vie aujourd'hui avec vous, je dirais que c'est d'abord des rencontres.
I stop just here. Who are French here? Okay. You know the reference? Yeah, thanks. Oof. Okay, thank you. It's just enough for my demo. You can customize your site with just the layout by default. You can use custom HTML or custom script, and you can make all you want. You can just if you want to make a list of any API outside the API manager you want, you can call all the API if you want.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
For consumer, or is it also if you want to provide an API? The API management means I push some APIs for others, and others can then consume it. Is it more, for which side is it?
So your question is about the developer portal. For which audience is it?
What is your use case?
So yeah, a developer portal. So it's part of the API management, and it's the purpose, the intention of the developer portal is to showcase our APIs as a API developer, your APIs. In case if you want to use API management, you probably need to expose APIs, secure them, manage their lifecycle, and so on. But you also need to facilitate the developer's life experience to use your own APIs, because you care about your ecosystem and you want your APIs to get used and so on. So the developer portal is here to do that. It's here to show your APIs in the better ways, to promote them basically. And so what Frederick shows us is that it came with a default behavior, with default capabilities. We can customize the look and feel and so on. But with the addition of this custom widget, we can really expand the customization to use cases that are beyond what we can offer, and you can leverage other technologies. So in our case, we use AI cognitive services from Azure to add, to build this virtual assistant to guide the developer to the right API. So this is an example of what you can do, but we can imagine like other use case.
And with the portal you can manage the developer subscription about the API. A developer
also
can ask, I want a subscription to this API or this project. And if you are as the API management admin, you can validate or reject the subscription. Yeah.
And any other question, like on all the topics we've seen so far? Yeah.
You mentioned workspaces for multi-tenancy.
Yeah.
So does it like support multiple documentation sites for multiple customers?
It's not at that level with workspace. So you can, if you want to, so you can go to our booth and we can speak more about that, and I will show you also. I can do a demo on our booth just behind. But workspaces is not related to developer portal. It's in the management plane. So in the Azure API management portal, you can isolate groups of users so that they see only the APIs that they are allowed to see. So really, so we are starting more on a more high level view. We're starting like an epic on an epic, a story, yeah. So a big epic on how to make API management more multi-tenant, because our vision is not to scale with multiple API management service, because I need a team. I have a team A that is not allowed to see teams B work, and the only solution we had so far was to create separate services. So that's something we don't want to promote going forward, and we are so workspace is a foundational work to this work to enable a large organization to scale and have multiple teams using one and only IAPIM. So I can do demos on our booth just after. Yeah, so that's the slide. Yeah, really enable multi-tenancy, centralized API governance, and decentralized API ownership. So yeah, it's a private preview. Will be preview in January, and yeah, more to see also on the gateway level and the developer portal level. We want to add stuff here. So that's all. Time's up. Thank you for your attendance.
Thank you.